Welcome everyone to the DC Review Episode 3. Now I have not been to the comic shop in a few weeks, so we're going to be reviewing some different items today. No comic books, but I have a graphic novel and I have a first chapter book written for kids. So let's get right to it. First book I'm going to talk about is Superboy Volume 1, Incubation. Now this is the collection of the first 7 issues of the new Superboy series in the new 52 in the DC Universe. Now, I have not been collecting this series on an issue-by-issue basis. I've read some reviews of it online, and it just it didn't really appeal to me. But I got the graphic novel at the library, and I gave it a read. And I was honestly expecting to hate this story, or to hate this series. Now, I'm a big fan of Superboy. Probably my favorite incarnation, at least in recent years, has been the Young Justice version of Superboy. I just think they've really nailed that interpretation. So for me, I'm coming off of Young Justice, loving the Superboy who's really trying to live up to the Superman legacy. In this series, it is completely different. It starts off the same, where we've got Superboy being grown in a kind of a clone chamber, and he exits out of it at the age of like 15 or 16, with really only have been alive for 2 or 3 months. So he makes his way out of this chamber and he wreaks havoc and destroys the entire lab, I think even killing some of the scientists there. And it's really, at first, it's a little strange and mysterious. He's being kept by an organization known as Nowhere. And that's really all we get about this strange organization. So this first volume kind of deals with Superboy coming into his powers, and what they've done differently, and something that I've liked, is they've separated him from Superman by giving him a new power set. So he still can fly, he still has super strength, but they've given him this tactile telekinesis, which I think is a nice change of pace. So he's not just another, slightly depowered Superman clone. He's got a new set of powers, which I think makes him more interesting. So the author, Scott Lobdell, and R.B. Silva is the artist. So what they're kind of doing here is they're portraying a Superboy that's being manipulated from a variety of different angles. And that's kind of the recurrent theme here in these first 7 issues, is Superboy is not really sure who he's working for, what he's working for, or who he really is. He's being used, essentially. So he's sent after the Teen Titans, he's sent after a few other groups as well, primarily the Titans though, and it's just it's mildly interesting. I was getting a little tired of him being used by one group after another, and then he starts to question, himself, and, am I just a weapon? And what does that mean? And there are some truly amazing moments of super dickery on behalf of Superboy in this series. Probably the best is he's feeling really just down and alienated from humanity, and it's Christmas. So what does he do? He goes to Central Park and he burns a giant Christmas tree, ruining Christmas for hundreds and hundreds of New Yorkers. That was a little strange to me, but I got a laugh out of it, as nothing else is just a moment of super dickery. So, another thing I want to talk about with this book is the art. Now, if you look at the cover, I'm kind of run this by you real quick. I really didn't like this cover. It's got a weird kind of like anime look to it, which I don't have anything against anime or manga, but it didn't work. This cover just looked, weird and ugly. But when you open it up, you actually get some really, really clean and well done artwork on behalf of R.B. Silva. So that's one thing that really, really caught me off guard with this series. And it's actually the first couple covers are done by this artist, and then they switch to Shane Davis, who you may recognize from Superman Earth 1, and the covers definitely get better from there. So artistically, this is a really great looking book, and they've designed this new costume form, and it's not so much, I shouldn't say a costume, it's more of a containment suit. They're trying to contain Superboy's rapidly developing powers. So, all in all, this is a decent read. Will I be picking this up month to month as in the individual issues? No, it didn't grab me that, I'm not that interested that I need to know what's going to happen month to month. But I will read the next graphic novel that comes out. So that's Superboy by Scott Lobdell and R.B. Silva. Excuse me, take a drink of water here. Next, we are going to talk about something really, really fun. This is a first chapter book called The Royal Rodent Rescue. And this is something DC has just started within the last year, this new line of first chapter books. Now, in case you don't know what a first chapter book is, it's like the name says. This book is written for kids, probably, first grade, second grade, or younger, who are just starting to read. And it features chapters. 3 to 4 chapters, very large text, and a continuous story. So what's really great about this, being a librarian and other folks that work in the education industry, I shouldn't say industry, that work in education, that it's really easy to promote and sell these books because they feature characters that everybody knows. And, well, maybe Streaky the Super Cat isn't necessarily the most recognizable character, but the S on his chest is recognizable, and then the DC logo here. So what they've been doing is writing these first chapter books using different super pets. So we've got, Streaky the Super Cat here, we've got Crypto, Beppo, Ace, the Bat Hound. There's a whole bunch of other ones that I'm forgetting here, but there's several different books, in this series. So this particular one is written by John Salzakis and illustrated by the amazingly talented Art Baltazar. In fact, he illustrates every single one of these Super Pets books. To give you an idea artistically of what we're looking at, here's a look at all the Super Pets right there. And if you've ever read the Tiny Titans series that he did, you're going to know what to expect. We've got lots of in-jokes for longtime DC fans, but it's written in a way that appeals to children. So it operates kind of on multiple levels. And he's just got a really unique and fun, cartoony take on the DC universe. So this particular story, Royal Rodent Rescue, features, like I said, Streaky the Super Cat and his nemesis, Roz the evil Siamese cat, who is the pet of Catwoman. So basically this story boils down to Roz, Supergirl and Catwoman are busy off in Gotham, involved in some sort of battle. So what do the Super Cats decide to do? They're going to go off on their own. So Roz goes off and gets into some mischief, and it's up to Streaky the Super Cat to stop her. It's a very simple story, but it's really, really fun, and it plays on a lot of the tropes of comic books and features a lot of characters that we know and that we love from DC Comics. So, we've got 3 to 4 short chapters, the big text, gorgeous illustrations by Art Baltazar, in-jokes, and just a really fun and, clever story. And what I really like about this is the Super Pets kind of are existing in their own little pocket here of the DC universe, where they can communicate with each other, but humans don't understand what they're talking about. So they're off fighting these battles and having huge confrontations, and humans are just kind of like looking at them, trying, like, what the heck is going on here? So in that respect, it's really fun. I highly recommend this. If you work in education, if you have children, and even if they're not fans of comic books, but you want to share your interest, this would be a great way to do it. So there's, like I said, 10 to 12, maybe even more at this point of these Super Pets books. I highly, highly recommend it. So there we go. We've got a shorter episode today. I'm going to hopefully make it to the comic shop tomorrow, which will be Wednesday. And I'm going to pick up those 0 issues. Very excited about those. I'm thinking of maybe doing a show where I'm going to kind of briefly review each of the 0 issues that of the line with the books that I'm currently picking up. So actually, there's one other thing I wanted to share with everyone. I picked up a new action figure here. This is S.T.R.I.P.E from the Stars and Stripe comic book, originally written by Jeff Johns. This, I believe, came from the Justice League Unlimited line of action figures. So it's, tends to be, it's a little smaller than I prefer action figures. This maybe be like 4 inches or so. Not very flexible, but I think the sculpt is really good, and it kind of captures the fun and just a fun look of this character. And the cool thing is, his head pops off, and if I can find his other head, you can put his human head on. So, like I said, this is from the Justice League Unlimited line of action figures from Mattel. You can find these relatively cheap. So, I'm hoping I can find a Stargirl that can kind of go with Stripe, and I will have these proudly displayed on my bookshelf. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the DC Review, and I will see you next week.